Hello, my name is Aspasia Gardner, and today I will be discussing how I would turn the Henry Tanner's home into a museum that would be not only educational, but interesting and fun, and that would motivate people to come and engage in the museum to see the history of an African American man in the 19th century. This is important because many times we do not hear the stories or the history or the achievements of African Americans. In fact, our history mostly focuses on war aspects from history or from viewpoints of a white straight male. However, with this museum, we will be able to open the horizon to a more diverse and inclusive history storytelling that will pull more people to feel engaged, to learn about history, and feel like they are represented through history. So now I'm going to talk about who Henry Tanner is. Henry Tanner was an African American artist who was recognized internationally for his artwork. Henry Tanner blew up and gained international recognition because he was able to showcase his experiences and tell his cultural heritage through his paintings. His home was built in 1871 in North Philadelphia. Now I'm going to be talking about why his house is important. Henry Tanner's house is important because not only does it give the public the chance to see how Henry Tanner lived and his experiences that he went through and still was able to become an internationally recognized African American man, but it also showcases how Philadelphians used to live in the 1871st century. In fact, Henry Tanner's home was one of a townhouse, and this type of style of architecture was very popular in the 19th century in Philadelphia. And now I want to talk about how Henry Tanner's family was also influential and should be talked about in the Henry Tanner's house. Henry Tanner's dad, Benjamin Tanner, was a bishop, and he worked with his church in the community. Tanner and his family broke through the racial barriers that were stowed upon them because of a system that only saw color. Now I would be talking about how I would turn this museum, how I would turn the Henry Tanner house into a museum. What I would do, if possible, in every room of the Henry Tanner house, I would have pieces of his artwork hung up and all his achievements on the wall. I would then have people come to the museum and look at the paintings and ask them, what feelings do you get when you look at this painting? Or what do you think Henry Tanner tried to portray when he created this piece of artwork? And then I would ask them what if questions. So for example, after they looked at our artwork and I asked them what have they learned after looking at this piece, or why do they think Henry Tanner created this piece, I would then ask them, what if Henry Tanner never made this piece? What if Henry Tanner never chose to go down the artistry work, but only wanted to focus on civil rights and creating a better community within himself? These type of questions will only push people to engage in the artwork and try to get a deeper understanding of why his artwork was so important and what his artwork meant. This museum, the Henry Tanner House, reminds me a lot of the museums and historical sites we have learned about in this class. 3 of these being the Paul Murray Historic Site, the Stonewall Monument, and the Montpelier Historical Site. The Henry Tanner's house remind me of these 3 pieces of art because it diversifies history. Each one of these aspects tells history through a different viewpoint that is not common to what people learn in their K through 12 education. I think it is so important that history is diversified and allows for different viewpoints and achievements and accomplishments of people to be shared, and so other people can feel inclined and connected to engaging with history. And how would I make the Henry Tanner House a asset to the community? Well, first, I would hold educational workshops. I would push for people to, come to this museum and learn more about the history of African American men and the African American families that worked to break down the racial barriers in a time where they were told they would never be anything or told that they could never accomplish anything. I would bring people together and encourage people in the museum to dive into the history of African American men and women, and I would teach them about Henry Tanner and his accomplishments and how he was able to navigate a system that was against him because of his skin color. And how would I protect this museum from the community? First, I would make sure that my museum is advertised as everybody is welcomed and that it is inclusive to anybody who wants to dive further into history. I would never shun anybody out or tell them this isn't for them, but instead I would create an environment where everybody can feel immersed in the culture of Henry Tanner and have them come to the conclusion that this is a safe space for them, that they can share their thought process and that they can learn more about the history in a different viewpoint. I would also make sure that I work with organizations around me or worldwide to make sure that the building stays up to date, while also still showcasing the building and it's an accurate reflection of the 19th century. But I believe the Henry Tanner's house should certainly be a museum, and that we should showcase it and broadcast it so more people would be inclined to come to the Henry Tanner house and engage with history in a new light. Thank you.